there. Welcome to the podcast. This is a really special episode, and my hope, my ask is that you share this with your superintendent. We are interviewing an amazing superintendent from a small little school district in Wisconsin today, Dr. Vince Breunig, and he is doing amazing things with his staff on social media and beyond. You're going to learn a little bit about how they have tied communication into their strategic plan, and he's going to detail the system he uses to consistently celebrate all of what's happening in the school district. And he talks about a social media calendar, and he's going to break that down for you. He's also going to share how they use social media to really share the joy and how that helps them not only recruit students, but recruit staff. And he gives an amazing analogy to how the NFL celebrates everything. We need to do more of that in our schools. So if you have a favorite touchdown dance, maybe we need to incorporate that into your workday at school. And then he's going to wrap up with 4 big social media tips that you are not going to want to miss. Those are right at the end. He's going to share that. This is a new best friend. He has been recognized nationally for his efforts on communication. So excited for you to meet Vince. So before too long, I'm gonna first give you your K-12 PR tip, and then we're jumping right in to our interview. So let's get started. All right, today's K-12 PR tip. I train on a lot of different platforms, right? Mainly Facebook and Instagram, and many of my tips are on Instagram Reels. And I just want to share a little update with you in regards to the impact that Reels can make in your storytelling. It's a different method. It's not just still pictures. There is life and excitement and creativity that you can bring to life through your reels. And I just wanted to share in my own business, reflecting on some of the top posts that I've been sharing are reels. They are short snippets from this podcast, which we use Opus Clips, AI tool, to help pull out some of the best tips. I've been doing little how-to videos that have been very well received. And so I really want to urge you to make sure that you are incorporating reels into your strategy. And whether you use TikTok or not, and as of today, when this is airing, I don't know if TikTok's allowed. Right now it is, but there's been a lot of talk. But Instagram and Facebook both have a Reels option, which is up to 3 minutes now in length, and it's that vertical format. Guys, if you are struggling a little bit, I just want to urge you, check out my membership group, because I just got done with our annual Instagram challenge, and I'm telling you the results that those schools got that really engaged, stretched their skill levels, tried new things. They're experiencing more engagement, which means more reach in their communities because of it. So Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, it's a real way to set yourself apart. And I hope that you will consider that. All right. Now let's get into this amazing interview with Dr. Vince Breunig. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Vince Breunig. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we have a really special episode because Vince is the superintendent of Lodi School District there in Wisconsin. And we just actually presented in Milwaukee. And I wanted to bring him on the podcast because I think your energy, your story, your passion, your leadership, it's really something to be admired. And so why don't you first, Vince, introduce yourself and share a little bit more about the school district of Lodi?
Sure. I'm Vince Breunig. This is my 30th year in education. I started as a school psychologist. The joke is I spent 6 years to be a school psychologist, and then I was 6 years as a school psychologist, and then I jumped into administration. I was a high school principal for 17 years in a couple different districts. I'm currently in my 5th year as a district administrator of the school district of Lodi, but this is my 17th year in this district. Lodi is about 25 minutes northwest of Madison, Wisconsin, if you know where that is. We're a rural school district, approximately 1,500 students. So we have beautiful natural resources around us, but are a stone's throw from Madison and things that people like to do there as well.
And I just have to say, Dr. Breunig is in the running for NSPRA list of superintendents to watch for 2025. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you very much. As I've told you before, that's a team award. Really, that's all of our district, all the great work. I work with great staff. I have a great administrative team, a great board, and our great staff, and all the work they do. Sometimes I get blamed for things that are not my responsibility. Sometimes I get credit for things that are not all my responsibility as well. So I see that as a team effort for sure. But it's a
Yeah.
very, very humbling because we have a lot of great districts around us and a lot of great work that's being done across not only Wisconsin, but across the country.
Yeah, and I just love how you're sharing it. And today we're getting it to share it like you said across the country. So really, how have you prioritized communication for your district?
Yeah, so one of the things is we focus on making sure we tell our story, right? We have to. If we don't tell our story, who's going to tell our story? So it's become a very big priority for me, even when I was a high school principal, of telling our story at the high school, and now as a district administrator, making sure we tell that. It is Communication is part of our strategic plan. It's one of our 5 pillars of our strategic plan. So we make sure that we are meeting those priorities that our community set for us. And so as part of our strategic plan, we have building a district-wide scorecard and building scorecards that lay out strategies that we are going to use. And one of the strategies that we have for communication is we put together a social media calendar for each of our buildings of who is going to submit things social media wise to make sure that all of our buildings are being represented. It's consistently done. We don't leave it to chance, right? One of those things, if you leave it for a chance, things just don't happen. So it has to be a process that's in place. Each building is responsible for certain content every week that goes to social media. But that's not the only thing we do, right? We put together a communications plan. We did a communications audit, put together a plan, make sure that we are communicating out to our families on all sorts of different things. For example, we just had a board meeting this past Monday night. Within the last few years, we started putting together a board summary that links all the information that we put together, the links of the different documents that were there, what happened, and all our board meetings are streamed live. So you can just go and click on we have a link right there. It'll take you right to where that discussion is, and people can watch the discussion. Again, just as a way to be transparent and make sure that we are sharing that information out to families and community members who want it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the stories that are being shared by your classrooms and how you kind of created this content calendar. We're going to link up both the Facebook and Instagram accounts for Lodi. We serve 87 school districts currently, and I can honestly say that Lodi, I think, is the best storyteller in regards to things happening in the classroom. So the method that Vince shared in regards to setting up that expectation of certain grade levels or certain classes submitting on certain weeks is working. And it's not just, oh, look, we did this in math today. It's like a well explained, this is how the curriculum, this is how the kids are learning. Can you just describe that a little bit? Because that's what I noticed so much when I was really, taking a look at your pages.
Yeah, so we talk about you can't wait, right? We can't wait for the perfect moment. That's a lot of times especially with cameras today. It's not like when I grew up and took a picture, right? You had to wait 3 or 4 weeks before you saw it was on the picture. You can take multiple pictures and just turn around and delete them. It's not a big deal. So take pictures of all the great things you're doing. And we forget the great things that happen in our district. We take it for granted every single day. So we talk about taking pictures of what is going on. So I try to lead by example. So for example, just this morning, I was in classrooms and I take pictures. That's what I do. I take pictures. I write my staff notes, and I do it every Wednesday morning. I'm in try to be in classrooms, and I take those pictures and I bring them back here and I put together social media posts, and then I share those pictures out to all of our elementary school or primary, whatever school that I came from. Today was elementary school and our charter school. I share them back to them so they can use them on their website, in their yearbook and things like that. But then I put together a social media post and it goes out. And so we asked our staff just to do the same thing because there's amazing things going on. So when we did our presentation, we talked about this. I asked everybody in the room, who had something special happen this week in school? And 10% of the people raised their hand. And I was like, you're all wrong. special things happen every single day. And the example I gave that day is we had indoor kindergarten recess, and you had 4 educational assistants handling 80 to 100 kids, which most adults would be scared if that happened. And the kids were having fun, they were safe, they were burning off energy, they're giving our teachers a break, and kids went back ready to learn. That's amazing. Or we had some maintenance people fixing a toilet. Like, that's important stuff. Like, it takes everybody to make sure that everything that our kids have the opportunity to learn, and they have that environment. And so celebrating those people is important, and making sure that we are acknowledging just that day-to-day important things we're doing. Because if we don't, the narrative becomes the negative things that happen. And negative things happen in Lodi just like they happen in every other district. But if that's all people are hearing, that's what they're going to talk about.
Right.
If it's just a blip, like, oh, here's this negative story, but they've had 25 positive stories, they see it as a blip. Yep, things happen, and they move on. But so we have to share that story and
Yeah.
make sure.
And you, a district of 1,500 students, I believe all schools deserve to have a communications person in your school. You guys don't. You partnered with us, Social School for EDU, to help on the social media side. So can you just share a little bit of why you made that decision and kind of how that process works for you and your staff?
Yeah, so we had every building had their own Facebook page prior to us working with you. Again, I was the high school principal. Our high school principal page was probably the most popular, but there's a lot of things going on at the high school, right? I mean,
Yes.
just right. There's athletic events and different things of that nature. And I was the first one who started one. But then we're not seeing our littles, and it also, people are just watching. Well, I'm a high school parent, so I'm just looking at the high school stuff. I'm not seeing whatever else is going on. So we talked about being more comprehensive in our approach and how we're sharing information out. And so that is what kind of led us down this path. We also, as you said, don't have a communications person. So it helps us, like when we put together a social media calendar, you have somebody in the back end who's going through that information, making sure that it makes sense, that we're not posting 5 things from 3rd grade, that we're spreading those things out, and everybody's being represented. They're also knowing what keeping an eye on kids making hand gestures, or a T-shirt that maybe a staff member didn't quite notice at an athletic event, or things of that nature. So you have somebody kind of who's like trained to be looking for some of those things that that maybe we're not looking at in the day-to-day field. So it helped. That was beneficial as well, and making sure. And then we also, one of the other nice things is we get tips like from time to time, like, hey, these days are coming up. Make sure you're getting your counselors or school board, bus drivers, whatever those things are coming up, making sure that we don't miss those days, and some other suggestions of things we can try and do.
Yeah. And Tori is your account manager. She's a former teacher. She's got a little one at home and decided to make a transition to work from home, but she absolutely loves serving your district. And yeah, we just have an email address, and all of your staff has the ability to send us things. I think the biggest thing for you and your leadership is just that you really do lead by example. So you're not just asking everybody else to do it, but you are out in the classrooms and you're taking those photos. And acknowledging staff and what they're doing is so critical to really building up what's happening in your school. I mean, people make decisions where they're going to send children, their own students, based on staff. And so I know that that's a big focus for you as well. So can you share more about that?
Well, I would say both, right? It
Yeah.
not only is it recruiting students, it's recruiting staff and keeping staff. Like we can't outpay our neighbors. We just can't. We're not in a situation we can do that. And a lot of districts are probably in that same boat as we are. So we have to find other ways that we are making staff feel welcome and acknowledged. And because being a teacher is really hard. So the example I gave at the presentation we did is like, you watch the NFL, they celebrate everything, right? They celebrate, they gain a yard, they celebrate, right? They sack a quarterback, they celebrate, they score a touchdown, they celebrate. Well, why do they do that? Because it's really hard to gain a yard in the NFL. But guess what? It's really hard to teach kids, right? Each and every day, and bring that energy and meet their needs. And we need to celebrate that and make sure that we are doing that. So it just is so important for us to take that time and celebrate our staff, the hard work they're doing, and acknowledge them. And an amazing thing is when you start acknowledging staff, they start acknowledging each other. And what's really powerful from our perspective is like the staff love it when I acknowledge them. They really love it when the community acknowledges them, or a parent or a student. So like some of the comments that they see from current parents, former parents, parents that had kids there 15 years ago, saying, yeah, that person's great. We love them as a teacher. Again, just helps fill that bucket, especially this time of year. February is often a tough month for our staff, right? It just because where it falls and we're not quite the spring yet. So just trying to do that. And they also acknowledge each other a lot more. Like, so, for example, and myself is included. So for example, they did a post of me from MI getting my doctorate. That suggestion, I would have never personally put that on my Facebook page. I mean, I understand why it should be there, but one of our staff members who I've highlighted several times on our Facebook page called my administrative assistant and said that needs to go on the page, right? So they also recognize each other and support each other as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's so many great examples on your page. So again, I want to encourage listeners to take a look at it. And you're going to see Vince on that page. You even helped inspire a contest that we did for all of our schools in the month of February, which was a superintendent selfie. And it was like 2 days before we announced the contest, you had already posted one. So I'm sure you've posted another one. But you, oh,
I was like, oh, February 1st. I think on January 30th, I posted a selfie.
well, you can catch up. I know you can, but other videos and things that you've done, you really like to show a fun side. And so some leaders out there might be a little nervous about showing that fun side. So how has investing in sharing like those moments helped build relationships in your district?
Yeah, I think it's a balance, right? I understand that piece as well. So I try to make sure that we maintain a certain level of decorum and things of that nature. But it's also been great with like having fun with kids, right? That's part of the joy of working with families and children is that's why we got into this is enjoying spending time with our students and having conversations with them and fist bumping them or doing whatever we need to. And it also brings a lot of as a superintendent, our kids know who I am much more than they used to. Before it'd be like, who's that really tall guy in the building? And now they're like, oh, it's Mr. Breunig, or it's the big boss, or it's, they come up with all sorts of terms, but they know who I am. And I had one of my assistant principal the other day when we were at a high school basketball game, and he just looked at me and goes, I didn't know you knew so many of the little kids because they just walk by and wave. Again, it's having fun with kids. I mean, we try to balance that, right? It's not about me, but it's about showing the fun things that are going on. But I also need the community to know that I'm in classrooms. I'm not just sitting in my office either. And they need to know that I interact with kids, and it's great for them to see that kids know me.
Yeah. Well, and it's those connections, and then it's also showing the rest of your staff. You can your staff isn't taught things; they can catch things. Taught not caught, or caught not taught, or whatever that saying is. And that just kind of leads into being well known. And once they see your video, they will certainly recognize you the next time they see you from your Guardians of Lodi Pride campaign. So tell me a little bit about this campaign. Tell me kind of how you've kind of shared that within the community. This obviously goes beyond social media, but it's made a really big impact. And I know my listeners are going to want to hear about it.
Yeah, you can see the Guardians of Lodi Pride sign over my shoulder. So we in Lodi, 11 years ago, I was a high school principal. We decided to have a high school video, just a welcome back video. It was a happy video that we did, and it just showed all different classrooms and different co-curricular events and people, dancing to Happy or doing different things to Happy, the song Happy. So that was the first one, and then our superintendent, we showed it at the beginning of the year for our staff and then for our high school students. Superintendent really liked it and was like, okay, which building's going to do it next? Well, I came up with an idea for another one, so then the high school did it, and then we kept doing it. And even when I became superintendent, I kind of stepped out of that. And the reason those videos came together, it was a part of our Lodi Pride campaign. So back in about 2012, right around there, we're doing the youth risk behavior survey results, and we were looking at our students didn't feel like they mattered in our community, and that the community really cared about them. So we tried to put together a campaign that showed that the community cared. So we called it a Lodi Pride campaign, and so we had some grant money and reached out to businesses, and then businesses put up. There was yard signs, kind of like the Guardians one that said Lodi Pride. People had business signs up, like our police department has Protect and Serve with Lodi Pride. Our American Family Insurance had, Protecting Your Dreams with Lodi Pride, and they had these big banners up. So it's just, again, showing our students that they mattered in our community. And then that kind of led to the video, and then the videos kind of kept going. And then COVID hit, right? So it's kind of our brand. And then COVID hit, and all of our brands took a hit. I don't care what decision you made in COVID. A lot of people thought you were wrong. And so, I always like to say, like, I've been in Lodi 17 years, so I had a lot of bridges to burn, and I burned a few during COVID. So that was like, how do we re-energize this Lodi Pride campaign? Either we need to do something else, or we need to re-energize it. And so we doubled down on re-energizing it. And so we went with a Guardians of Lodi Pride theme, and it was our 10th anniversary of our video. It was more of a district-wide video now. So it's based on the beginning scene of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It starts with me in a red jacket and headphones, just like that character. And then we're missing Lodi Pride. And we have to go back into the videos from previous years to find things. So it involves all of our students. It allowed us to re-release all 10 videos or 9 videos previous as a kickoff. So that summer, typically that's a lull in social media. We had a little bit more. And it was just a fun way to kick off the year. And then we did Guardians of Lodi Pride signs. We have banners on our sides of our school that say Guardians of Lodi Pride. All of our staff got Guardians of Lodi Pride shirts. All of our students, we do a fundraiser in the spring where they get t-shirts. We made them Guardians of Lodi Pride shirts, 8th grade down. And so we really doubled down on that. And now you hear it a lot. Like, are you being a Guardian of Lodi Pride? And you hear Lodi Pride, period. Like, I went and chaperoned my daughter's trip to Washington, D.C. a couple years ago. And that's what the chaperone would talk about. Like, we're going to go out, we're going to walk in the Smithsonian, and we're going to act with Lodi Pride. We all know what that is. And they do. Or when we didn't, right? The kids didn't, like, was that acting with Lodi Pride? And kids would be like, no. Like, okay, like, let's step it up. So it's just something that's a vernacular that it's our brand that we've really focused on. And the hard part is this time of year is we need to come up with a new idea for the next video. We've done an 11th one. Now we got to do a 12th one. So it's coming more and more difficult to come up with an idea for a video. But but that was the video that really was. I never thought about how much our students, especially at the lower levels, would recognize now the superintendent and the other administrators, and they do. They'll talk about Lodi Pride and Guardians of Lodi Pride all the time.
So when you do those videos, who helps put those together? Because it's not like movie quality, but it's pretty good quality. So who helps you with that?
Yeah, so we have a couple community members. My musical director helps do the storyboard for it. Whenever we come up with the idea, she helps storyboard and directs it.
Okay.
She's really good at organizing things and organizing kids and people. Like, this is how we're going to do it. And then we have somebody who works in a local electronic theater controls company, ETC. He was a board member for a while, but before he was a board member, he was doing this for us. He was linked into our school district, a community member, and he has the background in film and things of that nature. So he comes and films it, and he'll even say at times, I don't know how this is all going to work, but I'll film it. And then he helps edit it and put it together. And so we have those couple of people. And then we have a group that kind of sits down and like brainstorms how this is going to work.
Okay.
And then again, our whole staff has to be a part of it as well.
Right. So you're kind of using skills that are around you, which I'm sure most school districts have. There's kids and there's adults and there's board members, community members that probably would love to help out. So I'm assuming you don't spend a ton, there's time, but you don't spend a ton of money on the project.
Well, we probably spend under $1,500.
Okay.
Even that would be a high year, would be
Okay.
1,500. So typically we don't spend that much. And this year, actually, we have a student who is thinking about going into film. If you go on our Facebook page, you'll see a couple student videos. He's the one who's put them together. He actually is going to sit in and be a part of our sessions this year about putting this together, just because that's something he wants to do is when he goes on to the next level out of high
Okay.
school.
I'm gonna get after this, I'm gonna get links to a couple of those posts that are his videos because I just want to link those in the show notes for people to see. I love that. These are real jobs that people can have, and why not give them some experience, some exposure, creativity, and it helps basically helps market and promote and connect your school district, right?
Who's going to want? I mean, it's hard to get kids to your Facebook page. So go to your Instagram page, but how you get them there? Kids know what kids want to see, right?
Yes.
Just because I think what kids want to see. Like I have a daughter who's in high school. My other kids are older, but she'll roll her eyes at me when I'm like, "Well, we're gonna post this," and she's like, "Dad, no kid's gonna look at that." So,
I get the same advice from my daughter that's a junior, so it's good. It's good stuff. We got reverse mentors, Vince. That's what we call them. So just this has been so helpful, and I love all of your stories. I think people, if you're listening to this, and I just want to urge you, share this episode with your superintendent, with your leadership team. But as we wrap up, what would you say is your best social media tip?
uh, I have a couple. One
Okay.
is don't wait, right? Just post it, right? As I said, I went and did classroom walkthroughs this morning. I have 3 social media posts that went out to Tori today from this morning from my classroom walkthroughs. Whether they're great or not, I don't know. But they're pictures of kids working and staff working and doing great things. So
Hmm.
don't just wait for the perfect moment because you'll be waiting forever, right?
Yeah.
And you miss it. So make sure you're posting things. Have a system that you're making sure that you're getting information from all over, or else it'd be really easy for your athletics to dominate or your primary school to dominate, or like have a system in place where everybody's sharing that. Take good pictures, right? I'm pretty tall. I'm about 6'5". I know you can't tell from the screen or from if you're listening, but I get down like low and get at face level with kids. And then I'll have, and don't have kids pose. Like I have kids who like this morning even too, like they'll look at me and I'll take a picture of them posing and I'll say, okay, now show me one of you working. And that's usually the one that makes our social media posts, sometimes posing, but typically it's them working and doing things. But then finally, it also just can't be social media, right? It
Mhm.
can't be social media is a tool and we should use it, but it's a lot, the way we have it set up, it's a one-way street, right? We're just pushing information out. You also have to find other ways to engage families in back and forth communication. That two-way communication is really huge.
Yeah, and I know you have a lot of other methods for doing that as well. We're actually going to work together to do a webinar this summer, you guys. So if this is a little teaser, but we're going to come back this summer and give a free webinar for everybody across the country, and just share a little bit more examples and dive a little bit deeper and give you the opportunity to ask some questions as well of what Vince is doing there in Lodi. But if they have some questions now, what would be the best way to stay connected to you?
Probably my email address.
Okay.
That's the school district of Lodi, and again, this is Lodi, Wisconsin. There are other Lodi's in other places, so sometimes I'll get a call from a parent who's really upset, and it takes me about 5 minutes to figure out that they're from a different state because they're talking about kids and staff that I don't even know. Lodi, Wisconsin. If you look at our website, School District of Lodi. My email address is the first 5 letters of my last name, so BREUN, and then the first 2 letters of my first name, VI, and that's at Lodi Schools, plural, WI, and then .org.
Okay. And we'll link that in the show notes too. So if you want to give Vince an email and ask him a question or share anything, I think that would be great.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. You're doing such a great job. Your staff, like you said, it takes a village,
Uh,
but it certainly does take the leadership and just jumping in. It sounds like you kind of have always really embraced the social media. And I'm sure there's been times when it hasn't been perfectly rosy. But, if somebody's just thinking about, gosh, we really need to up our game, what would be your advice to them? I know you just shared your best tips, but what,
I have a system.
yeah,
It really has to be like how, because again, best intentions, like any other goal you set. So again, we're in February. What goals did you set January 1st? Are they being done? Right? Whatever, personally, professionally, you need to put a process in place so that stuff happens. So like for us, it's a process and it's part of our strategic plan. It becomes part of our scorecard. And then we are monitoring that scorecard and we look at it like we just got done with our mid-year looking through all of our scorecards and we stoplight them. And so we have conversations about, are we doing what we said we're going to do? And again, social media is just a small piece of that.
right.
And communication is just a small piece of our overall, what we're doing. But there's a process in place. And once you get it in place, it just kind of feeds itself. And then you just remind people.
Yeah.
A couple times a year, I will send out, right now is a good time, just a reminder to send out. Remember, we're putting stuff on social media. It doesn't have to be perfect. Send it.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope everybody listening jumps over to your Facebook and Instagram page, take a look at the great stories that are being shared, and hopefully you guys can implement some of this back in your schools. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Vince.
Anytime. I harvested most of these ideas from other places as well.
Yeah.
So, right. So harvest away.
Yeah.
And education is such an important field and everybody's doing such great work. As I said, I'm surrounded by great districts. And there's so many great districts around our state and around the country. So we just need to tell our story. It just came out this week. There's just a newspaper article about how people are not, the public perception of public education is at an all-time low, right? But it's because we're not telling our story, right? But most people's local schools, they're happy with, right? We need to do a better job of telling our story and everybody's story so they can see the great work that is being done. And again, it's not perfect. We also talk about some of the hardships we overcome. So I think it's incumbent on all of us to do it, not just for Lodi's sake, but for schools in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Great, great ending message, guys. Let's go out and get them. Keep telling the story. We got the power really in the palm of our hand with our
And
phone. So
it's fun.
yes.
Like that's the fun part of the job. Like I sit in my office and do a lot of stuff. Going and sitting in classrooms, sometimes like, oh, I don't have time to go sit in a classroom. And then I get there, it is by highlight of my day. Like it just reminds me what I do and why I'm doing and decisions I'm making. So it's just, and I take pictures and kids love it for the most part. High schoolers, sometimes they're like, are you taking my picture? Is that going to be on Facebook? Yeah. Is it okay? Can I see it first? Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So,
Good advice. Well, I love it. Guys, go out there, share those stories, and we'll be back again next week with another podcast episode. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
bye. Thank you.